Hi. All right. We had a bit of a technical issue there. Um, so, hoping that you're able to join me for the remaining part of our session today. Um, let's get back to our slide. I was speaking on the imperative of delegated authority, and I was making the point, that when we can better appreciate the importance of authority for doing leadership right from the example of Jesus. And we noted that in Luke 9 and in Luke 10, places where he had sent his people out to go and take on some of his own responsibilities ahead of him showing up at a later date. He had given them authority and power. He had given them authority and power. And if he hadn't given them authority and power, they wouldn't have been able to get the job done. They wouldn't have been able to get the job done. I mean, that he did that in two cases and that he did that deliberately, and he told them the purpose for which he was giving them an assignment. It meant clearly that with authority was required for getting the job of leadership done. Don't forget that what he, by delegating, you know, it's a way that the leader trains his people to be able to do what he's able to do, so that they go out, they come back, they report, he examines, what they did in line with the instructions he gave. He looks at the results that they obtained and is able to appreciate how much they know, what their capabilities are. He's able to identify, the areas where they're still lacking, all of it as a major step towards building them up into credible leaders, into authentic leaders themselves. So you don't want to do that. That is, give them authority and power if it's not relevant for their use. Okay, you wouldn't want to do that. And so he did that deliberately. So authority is important. Make no mistake about it. I like another illustration from a statement that someone made. This was a soldier and, a top, military officer who needed help from Jesus because he had a servant who was on the deathbed, as it were, and he was pretty desperate. So he sent an emissary, to Jesus, asking him to please come and uh, help him out with his servant who was sick and on the verge of, dying. And at some point, he sent another set of people to go and say to him, "Sir, don't bother to show up in my house." Um, and he gave the reason why. And he said, "Look, I am a man under authority. And, so I understand how these things go." He said, "I also, okay, I'm a man, I have authority. I say to this one, go, and he has to go. I say to that one, go, and he has to go." He said, "So please don't bother coming. Just give the instruction. Just speak the word. I know that you are a man of authority." What he was saying is that I believe in the authority of your leadership, in the authority that comes with your leadership. So use the authority. I believe that it will work for me. That's all that I need. Suppose Jesus didn't have authority, he wouldn't have been able to help in that circumstance. He wouldn't have been able to help. Now, one of the things that struck me is that when you read the full story, Jesus himself was amazed He was taken aback. Wow, this is quite some insight, And he said, I've never seen, you know, such great faith, meaning it was a demonstration of faith. When you believe in the authority of the leader, he was acknowledged as demonstration of great faith. When you rely on the authority of the leader, okay, look at what it produces for those who depend on the leader, for those who follow the leader. He said, I'm a man under authority. I'm a leader. I understand the place of authority for the performance of my leadership responsibility. So, how can anybody say that we should look down on authority? How can anybody say that we should not use authority? What is important, as you would find out later, is that authority is not meant to be used against your people or to intimidate them. It is to be used for their own purpose. It isn't to be used to appropriate benefits for you. It is to be used for the people of the people that you are leading and for the purpose of your leadership. But to think that you don't need it, you must really be mistaken. We shouldn't make that mistake. We shouldn't make that mistake. In fact, by expressing that kind of faith in the authority that Jesus carried, you could see it was like an empowerment. It was like also a motivation for him to come through, all right, with everything that he had. So when you don't believe in the authority that the leader carries, you simply undermine yourself. You undermine yourself, because part of the reason that he has that authority is to enable you as a follower benefit from it. And truth is this: if the follower knows that he or she stands to benefit from the leader's use of authority, why would he or she not commit? Why would ultimately the leader not be able to influence the follower? This is how these things work. This is how it works. I love that aspect, which was an interaction between two leaders. Jesus had his own team that he leads. This man had his own team in the military that he leads. Yes, you could say, but that's the military. It's true. But anywhere that you have a leadership assignment, you need authority. If you said that is the military, what about those who were following Jesus? They weren't following a military man, but when Jesus sent them out, he gave them authority and power. So it doesn't matter whether it is the military, whether it is the health services, whether it is banking, whether it is finance. It doesn't matter whether it is government. Wherever there is leadership responsibility, there ought to be a provision for the leader to use authority. And the leader, of course, can build on the authority that he or she is given through other means. But either anyhow you look at it, authority is important. Authority is important and is given for a purpose. And therein lies the issues of authenticity. Okay, therein lies the issues of authenticity. I believe we're going to come to that. So authority is doing the needful to get results, even when your people can't appreciate it. And many times this had to happen. Many times Jesus did this. All right, it's not every time you are able to explain what needs to happen. You're able to cajole, you're able to plead or whatever with your people. Action needs to be taken promptly. And you need the help of the people. You need to mobilize them, in that regard. At that point, you have to use your authority. Because whoever fails to comply, then will be subject, to a sanction. All right. There has to be discipline in leadership as well. All right. It's not about whether you like follow or whether you like don't follow. There is a minimum commitment depending on the structure that's in place, that is expected of a follower. And authority helps you, to get that minimum commitment in place. Otherwise, leadership becomes a lot more of a headache for every leader. Authority is rising to the occasion when your people have reached their wits' end. We're going to look at an example where, for example, um, you know, Jesus was in the boat with his team and they faced the situation. He was busy resting at the back, relaxing, okay? But there was a storm, and there was such a huge storm that his people were afraid. They were at their wits' end. And what did they say? They say, Sir, don't you even care that we die, that we're going to die, that we're going to perish? Because this storm, I mean, and you are busy sleeping. You're busy sleeping, they were at their wits' end. What did the leader step forward to do? He said, Wow, you guys have no faith. Why is it that you have no faith? What was he talking about there? If we borrow from what he said to the centurion, he said, I've never seen this kind of faith. He was talking about faith in the authority residing in the hands of the leader. Faith in the fact, in his knowledge that the leader will use that authority in his own best interest. So when Jesus was saying, how is it that you guys don't have faith? He was also talking about they not having faith in the authority of his leadership, or in the authority that he commanded as a leader. Why? Because when he stepped forward, he invoked the authority to deal with the situation. We were told he came forward and he spoke to the wind and he spoke to the storms, to the waves, and everything calmed down. He took responsibility when his team was threatened. The purpose of authority, the place, the cornerstone place of authority for doing leadership right, for effective leadership. Imagine again if he had no authority. Imagine if he had no authority. But he acknowledged that he was given authority. So there were things there were privileges that were given to him, that if you make this kind of pronouncements, things must happen. People must line up. Situations must fall into place according to your desire. That's what authority does for a leader. And that's why it's important. He couldn't have been trying in the face of the storm to be psyching up his people. He could not have been trying at that point to do that. So there is a time when it only takes the leader's action, the use of his authority, to set things in order. And everyone has to line up accordingly. Otherwise, the whole purpose of leadership will fail. They would have been wiped out if he didn't do what he did in the face of the storm. They would have been wiped out. Authority is not showing off power. Far from it. That is misuse. It's not intimidating your people. That's misuse. I guess that's why some people have a lot of problems with the use of authority by leaders. It is using power to benefit your people. That's what it is. And if your people knew that that's the purpose, wouldn't they embrace a leader with authority? You can invoke authority to carry leadership responsibility and stay the course. That's all the point that we have been making, especially using these examples. You stay the course because you are using the authority to for the people's benefit and for serving the purpose of leadership. So a leader is comfortable when he or she possesses the power and the authority to lead. And what that truly means is to take charge, to exercise control, and to move the team in the direction of fulfillment of purpose, of realization of the objectives for coming together. And that's what Jesus ever did. That's what any leader of worth does with authority. So when we talk about authority, there is purpose for authority that is given to the leader. And serving the leadership purpose requires authority. So let's look at authority, authentic leadership through the use of your authority. Authentic leadership through the use of your authority. I'm going to go back to an example that I have, fallen back on at different times in our sessions, and that is, I talked about some days ago the situation where Jesus was tempted and by the devil, and he had to prove that he had the capacity to lead. That's one of my interpretations of what transpired there. Why? Because his ministry had not begun. It was immediately after all of that and a successful, victory in that situation that his ministry started. And the first thing he did was to put a team together. But when you go back and look at the first, but we brought out something different when we looked at this. But I want to speak on the authority dimension, and I want to speak specifically about the issue of misuse of authority. And so the first temptation, the first challenge that he faced was that he was very hungry and he needed food, having been off food for 40 days and 40 nights. And a man came and, trying to trick him, said to him, if you are the Son of God, if you're a true leader, so to speak, if you're a true protege at that point, command these stones to become bread and eat. I mean, it's a piece of cake. And he said, no. Why? Because man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. And he had the authority and power to do that. He could have turned the stones to bread. But he did not. He did not. He didn't abuse the authority that he had been given, because he was not given power for that purpose. It wasn't to go around turning stones to bread, because you could as well turn people to bread. And that's not the idea behind the privilege of the authority that he was given. Now, when you look at the same thing, even with the second temptation, he said, there's a provision made for you that if you are faced with any danger, that the angels will bear you up in their wings. So you can jump. And he said, no, I won't jump. Why? Because there is also another provision. If he had jumped, it would also have been an abuse of privilege, an abuse of authority. So when it comes to leadership, it's about abuse. That's why a lot of people are cautious to advocate for the use of authority. But the authority is important, and we must not shy away from emphasizing it. But we must also draw attention and continuously harp on the fact that it must not be abused. There was a time that the disciples, Jesus was going to a place and he sent them ahead again to go and prepare grounds. And as they were trying to prepare some grounds, they went to a city trying to prepare some grounds before, but he was going to Jerusalem. And as some people were opposing them, every effort they were making. They stood in their way, they created obstacles. And the next thing that his people, the disciples, would do is, sir, should we call down fire upon these people? Why would you call down fire? Is that the purpose of the authority, of the power that the leader is given? He told them, no, don't call down fire. Why should you call down fire? The fact that you can doesn't mean you should. That's not how to use the authority and power of the leader. It's a very important lesson, a teachable moment for them there. Left to them, they would have used their power for what it wasn't intended. They would have abused their power. But authority demonstrates capacity. And leaders want to see that in their leader. Followers want to see that in their leader. It demonstrates capacity. Some time came when, at that famous wedding, in Cana, and Jesus's mother went to meet him, took servants to him, and he said to them, whatever this man says for you to do, do it. What was she saying? This guy is a man of authority. Whatever he says, you better listen. It will resolve your matter. Okay? So where you have authority is an indication of capacity. Where you have authority is assures safety. In the case when there was the storm and the master was in the boat, so the people had somebody to run to. What if he wasn't there? So ultimately they could calm down. When they see demonstrations like that, they know that following somebody like that has authority and knows how to use it provides safety. Authority reinforces control. All right. In virtually each of the instances where Jesus had to demonstrate it, he basically took control as the one calling the shots. So authority helps the leader to exercise control. puts the leader in a position that he can afford things just running amok. Because in such instances, he can become like a dictator to dictate in the best interest of everybody through the use of his authority. But authority confers responsibility. That's why we talk about the misuse. Because those who misuse authority lack a sense of responsibility for the weight that authority places upon their shoulders. Authority commands respect. You wouldn't see any of, look at the way that he carries himself. The centurion knew it. So that show of faith was show of respect as well. He had the understanding that men of authority, you respect them. You have to respect them. Authority commands respect, especially when you know how to use it. It commands disrespect when you misuse it, because then you are seen as an oppressor. Then you are seen as self-serving. And there's no way that can earn you respect. No way. Authority builds faith. I think this should be easy for us to see. We've looked at the example of the centurion and we've seen the verdict of the master who said, wow, this is great faith in action. This is great faith in action. Why? Because here is a man who understood the place of authority in the hands of a leader and who was willing to allow the leader use that authority to serve his benefit. So authority builds faith. He said, I've never seen faith like this in Israel. I haven't. Authority, of course, builds trust. Builds trust. The disciples of Jesus couldn't have seen the kinds of things that he did, the demonstration of authority from one situation to the other, and they won't trust him. And it builds respect and influence as well. And influence. All right. So the things that, so you can see the link between the use of authority to even earn the so-called influence that we are told that we should work towards earning without using authority. When in fact, the authority of the leader has a very strategic purpose because it helps the leader to take charge and stay in control in the short run. And through that short run activity, coupled with other initiatives, it helps the leader to secure the trust, respect, faith, and ultimately the influence that he needs to build with his people, thereby making the leader, infinitely more effective than would otherwise have been the case. So when you overlook the strategic place of your authority, you may really be doing your leadership efforts untold damage. Let's look at two dimensions of authenticity as far as authority is concerned. The first one is demonstrating authority, that you even have it. And the second one is using authority for leadership purpose, using authority to serve leadership purpose. Okay. It's not enough to possess authority. It's equally important to use that authority appropriately. You are not judged authentic because you demonstrate authority only. Okay? But because you use the authority to serve your leadership purpose. You can see why we break the two down and the significance, and therefore how we arrive, at authentic leadership as a result of the two. So you are seen as authentic when you demonstrate authority and apply it for purpose. If you are not leading with authority, you are leaving a key aspect of you are leaving out a key aspect of authentic leadership. You are leaving out a key aspect of authentic leadership. If you don't exhibit authority, people can't feel confident following you. If you don't, people can't feel confident following you. Isn't that what you want? All right. Explicit and implicit trust in you. And the use of authority helps you greatly in that regard. Your leadership conduct must exhibit, and leverage your authority for you to be deemed authentic. Let's look very quickly at why authority matters to your people. Why should they, you know, like I said, people want to follow who's truly in charge. You want to follow a leader who is in charge. You, and a leader with authority who knows how to use it is in charge. So authority makes people feel comfortable on the journey. Those guys can be on the water traveling for days, for months, as long as Jesus is in the boat. No problem. As long as the leader with authority is in the boat, no problem. Okay. The people want to walk on water, just like the leader. You remember that with Peter, another time when they were traveling and they had gone ahead of their master, and their master was coming and he was walking on water, and they saw their master and they were scared. A man with authority. And one of them was bold enough when he said, "Look, don't be scared. I'm the one." He said, "Okay, if you are the one, tell me to walk on water." I mean, who doesn't want to walk on water when you see your leader walk on water? All right. That the boldness, the courage that comes out of it is the fact that this man, you know him to be a man of authority. So you want to walk on water just like the leader. It's one of the reasons that this authority is important, for the follower. It shows the follower what can be achieved. In the case of Peter, it showed him what can be achieved when you recognize authority. You too would aspire for it. You know that in order for you to succeed as a leader, you have the authority. Look at all the instances where he had to use authority. When he gave them the authority and sent them out, they used the authority, they got results, they came back and they told him this was what transpired. All right. So it shows them what is possible. And part of the lessons that they learn is never to do leadership right. I mean, to do leadership without paying attention, being conscious, engaging the authority. Let's look at something here that could well have come up a lot earlier in our discussion today. And I wanted to share with you this statement that Paul made to Timothy. Remember that Timothy was groomed as a leader by Paul. Timothy was, a protege of Paul. Paul developed Timothy's capacity to lead. And on one occasion, this was what Paul charged Timothy to do. He said, these things command and teach. Command. So there is what to command. There is a time in your leadership assignment and conduct that you have to resort to commanding, to issuing commands, to issuing instructions that must be complied with. Must. He said, these things command and teach. Later, you can teach them so the people understand why you had to step in to use your authority. And look at the statement that follows. Let no one despise your youth. So I was telling him, take charge. Why would you say let no one despise your youth? It's because there are people who will want to take advantage of the leader's lack of use or reliance on authority. People in your team. In this case, one of the things they could have done is to try and take advantage of the fact that Timothy was a young man, that most of them are older than him. And so they can try to intimidate him. He said, but these things command, that is, leverage your authority, use your authority. You are designated as a leader. And it's for the purpose of checkmating people who want to undermine your leadership for one reason or the other, such as your youth. In the case of Timothy, it was youth. In your case, it can be something else. People just don't necessarily want to subject themselves, all right, to superior authority. They look for ways to rebel, to undermine, So like I said, pending when you secure the respect through other means, which is also possible by using your authority, use your authority to ensure that everybody lines up with you especially at times when it is crucial. When you don't do that, you are weak as a leader. No matter how accessible a leader is, no matter how much a leader shows understanding, there are times that the leader has to breathe down on the neck of everybody for discipline. There are times the leader won't listen to anybody else, but insist on doing things, on you all doing things the way he or she wants it. Even Jesus did that. And he wasn't wrong by doing that. Why? He has a job to do. It's not for fun that we say that the buck stops on the table of the leader. If the buck stops on the table of the leader, so the leader has to keep begging. How does the buck stop on your table if you have to keep begging the people to flow with you all the time? No, there has to be something that helps you to deal with people who will not ordinarily submit themselves to authority. And that's what Paul was saying here. Paul was a man who understood leadership, and he recognized the place of authority here. And he encouraged Timothy to use it. And he told him the reason why it will come in handy for him. Because you are young and people will want to take advantage of your youth. They want to despise your youth. They want to play down or look down on you just because you are young. But leadership is not about age. So you don't need to be the oldest in the room to be the leader. But in order for you to be the leader, when you may not exhibit certain endowments like other members of the team. For example, there may be other members of the team who are more IT literate than yourself. In this day and age, where IT is the intern, where technology is crucial, designating you as a leader who is weak in your knowledge of technology or in technology skills, some people want to use it against you. But technology doesn't determine who should be the leader, neither does it determine the effectiveness of the possessor of that skill in the area of leadership. But as long as you are there, having been put in charge as the leader, you have been given authority to put all of such people who are so contrarily motivated in their place so that they don't stand in the way of your effectiveness as a leader. You need to rise up and take advantage of that authority, recognize it, apply it for purpose, and come across as an authentic leader. That's one of the reasons why you have also not been certified as authentic by your people. How do you use authority? Do you, in fact, recognize it? Do you take advantage of it? Do you use it well and appropriately? Or perhaps you are one who places so much emphasis on it that you keep throwing your weight all around and harassing and intimidating your people. That's not authentic leadership. That's not authentic leadership. It's far from authentic leadership. So I mean that is an important word to emphasize. The leader shows how to use authority appropriately. The leader shows how to use authority appropriately. Let's close by examining the power of authentic authority. Is what I've done every day for each of the dimensions. And here, my submission is that the essential ingredient for exercising control during your leadership journey, is your authority. And it assures your people that they are safe and protected and they can depend on you, all right, all through the journey, That's what he did to them, in the case of Jesus. And here, the quote that I use is, what the people said when they faced the storm and they thought they were going to die, despite that their leader was in the boat. And they woke him up and said, "Teacher, or leader, or master, don't you care that we're about to die?" And he responded, accordingly, and used his authority and power, brought the situation under control. All right, he rose and lived true to what is expected of an authentic leader. He had authority. He didn't shy away from using it. He used it when it was required for the purpose for which it was given. That is authentic leadership. That is authentic leadership. And that's where, I would emphasize again my closing submissions. A leader will struggle without authenticity. A leader will struggle without authenticity. So learn to walk the talk and don't just walk your talk. So we've dealt with 6 out of the 7 ways to stay authentic. And tomorrow we'll be focusing on how to be authentic in your results. How to be authentic in your result. Remember, being authentic is leverage, leadership leverage at its highest. Is leadership leverage at its highest. And I will close by extending you again, help. If you need help to lead with authenticity, if you need help to boost your leadership effectiveness, if you need help with leadership coaching, all right, so that you can be a smart leader, so that you can be a capable leader, so that you can understand what leadership really entails, so that you can be that leader that you are clamoring, to have. Um, you, I think I can help. We can help you at Emed Leadership Academy, and you can reach out to us through those various channels. You can book a call with me and have a discussion, and let's see how we can be of help to you, where we can, work together. Or you can send me an email. My email address is given, or you can send a WhatsApp message directly to my phone. Either of the three, I'll be there to respond to you and to reach out to you as well. And let's see how we can work together. You can also scan that QR code um, at the extreme, where I'm pointing. Um, it's the same link. It will take you the same link under book a call. And you can schedule a call with me. You can schedule a call with me, and we can start our discussion there. I have executives that I coach, and you can take advantage of that service as well. You can take advantage of that service as well. All right, so I believe that is it. Don't forget, I initially, spoke about the Authentic Leadership Academy. I want to encourage you. I want to invite you. Please join the Authentic Leadership Academy, the community of leaders who are working to, upscale, upgrade themselves, to, become authentic in their leadership efforts and assignment, and who understand that that is a minimum platform, okay, for upon which to build leadership capacity and competence, upon which to build leadership capacity and competence. So join, it's a paid community, there are very many opportunities to interact with others, to listen to guest speakers from time to time. Our interaction is on weekly basis. I speak on different aspects of leadership. At times you will take the seat and share with us, your own experiences or inputs, or even your challenges, and have us, help you, provide counsel, give you insights, pick the brains of other colleagues of yours. Different people have seen and handled different challenges in life, and there's nothing new under the sun. So you can always, one of the easiest ways of solving your problem is by exposing it to people, and especially in a community like that, you would always find somebody who is able to offer you one or two things that will show you the way. Where it appears that things are so difficult, one word or one counsel from somebody may just be all that you need. It's a paid community so that, it's value for money. Those who join can be committed, and actively participate. We can create a vibrant community, one that is alive and ready to help every member, anytime they have a need. Okay, many activities, many privileges that we have laid out. You can scan the QR code or look at your comments. All right. The link behind each QR code is showcased in your comment. Click it or scan the QR code, and then you learn a bit more about what the academy entails, and please go ahead and join. Go ahead and join. Let's build up ourselves individually so that we can become the leaders that the society needs, and we can be part of the structure for ensuring that the society gets better and better. Value is added by leaders. And also, let's chase, the false leaders out of town. I remember what some songbird Bob Marley sang some years ago, to chase the crazy bald heads out of town. By that, I refer to false leaders, so that we have more authentic leaders, okay, and they can be built. They are not born, they are developed, they are nurtured. That's what we do. That's what we are committed to doing at Emet Leadership Academy. So you can join and you can pay either in dollars or you can pay in naira, indeed any currency. Any of those links will give you an opportunity to pay anyhow you want to. And you can pay on monthly basis, you can pay, annually. The choice is yours. But don't miss the opportunity. Don't miss the opportunity. I hope that the session so far, this is the seventh session, go ahead and check my YouTube channel and you would find uh, all the sessions. There will be 9 at the end of the day. This is the seventh, is the second part of the seventh because we had a break, but subsequently I'm going to put the 2 videos together. But just in case I'm yet to do that and you are seeing this, know that it's a series. It's a 9-day series focused exclusively on the subject of authentic leadership and bringing to you a perspective, all right, that is more accurate than what you would have read, more truth based than what you may have been exposed to through the standard literature. Like I said, at Emet Leadership, is leadership nurtured based on truth. Truth for us is found in the Word of God. We model our leadership model and lessons, derived from proven biblical truths, derived from the example of the master leader, Jesus, who led a team, whose impact we're still feeling till today. All right? If that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what else will. But that's our conviction. That's our commitment. That's our mandate. And we intend to fulfill it. So I look forward to seeing you next day 8. And we'll be focusing there on being authentic in your results. Being authentic in your results. And then the final day, we will put all of it back together and let's see what story we can tell with that. Let's see what summary we can come up with. Let's see what the way forward should be in our quest to become authentic leaders. Olatunji Shogodu is my name. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for listening to me. Enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you. Bye-bye.